Well, welcome tonight to Candidates Night. Welcome candidates, the audience, everyone who came here to our candidates for the upcoming election, and as well as welcome to those that are at home watching this live. I also want to thank Zach and EBCAM for filming us tonight. This event is live, and as well it will be streamed up to 2 days before the election. To access this event, you go to the EB cable television and go on video on demand. And tonight's annual Candidates Night is sponsored by the Republican
Town Committee
and the Democratic Town Committee.
Yeah, and I'm filling in tonight for Miles Hager. He's out traveling someplace, so I'd like to thank you all for coming here and the candidates for putting the time, effort, and energy into this. It's very, very important for the town. I understand we have only one contested race, but I must say, even if you're uncontested, you're still going to be making an obligation. You're still going to be dedicating your time, effort, and energy to improve this town. So I want to make sure we thank you for that. And who knows? You might not know what you're getting in for, right? But no, it's fulfilling, and it's the right thing to do.
Okay, so I just, as many of you know, that we lost a very dear and very special person to politics. Bob McCarthy passed away last December, and he will be sadly missed. He was an active role in the Candidates Night, and he loved the great banter between the Republican Committee and the Democratic Town Committee, and it was just a joy. So I would just appreciate, and I know in his honor, just to take a moment of silence to remember Bob and his active voice in town. Thank you very much.
Bob was a great addition to this. It's kind of empty.
It is.
I remember when I first got involved, having conversations with him, and it was always quite enjoyable. Always quite enjoyable.
Yeah. You never know where he's going to take you.
It was fun.
No?
It was fun. But he taught you a lot.
Yeah.
Taught you a lot. So good perspective on things. So he will be missed.
And I hope you don't mind. I thought we could take a moment to have a Pledge of Allegiance tonight, because I just feel that that's a real appropriate thing to do at any political or event. So, you all stand.
Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So tonight we'll hear from the candidates running for the May 14th town election. There are 8 positions on the ballot this year. Candidates running for town election have the opportunity tonight to let us know about themselves and why they are running for this position. This election is nonpartisan, meaning you do not make a stand whether Democrat or Republican. You are here for the betterment of the town. They're all stakeholders in our community, and it's amazing, but the success of our town here in East Bridgewater relies on the commitment of the volunteers who run for these elections and for these offices. And we are very grateful for those who are joining us tonight.
Right, so I'll go over the rules
Yeah.
for this evening. I'm not sure who's going to be the timekeeper, because I don't. Oh, you're going to take place. Okay, good. So we start the evening allowing the uncontested candidates to give a 3-minute speech. After all the uncontested candidates speak, we will go to the contested races. After 3-minute speeches, we will begin a question and answer segment, starting with the uncontested candidates. Response to those questions will be 1 minute in length. When asking a question, please identify yourself and street address. So that's how we're going to roll. And do we have a Board of Selectmen will be first, right?
Yeah, and Mr. Sheedy, I believe, is not here tonight.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
All right, we have the Assessor's Office. Stephen Solari is not here tonight. Public Library,
Rebecca Herman,
no.
Kelsey.
Kelsey Holbrook. Maybe they're late like I was.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay. Trustees of the Public Library, Catherine Lee Holbrook. Kelsey Joe Holbrook. Oh, we did that twice, right? Well, 3 years and there was 1 year to fill in a vacancy.
Okay. All right. So, Board of Health, Tom Duquette. And candidates are going to sit up here. Yep.
Afternoon, or night.
Hello.
Diane, Dave. My name's Tom Duquette. I grew up in East Bridgewater, went to school here. I moved out to go to college. I graduated from Boston University with a degree in political science, and went back to school. I've got my Juris Doctor. I'm an attorney, having graduated from Northeastern, and I moved back to town 3 years ago, just before my son was born. So I'm interested to serve in town politics, just to give something back to the town, and I'm honored to be running for a seat at East Bridgewater at the Board of Health.
Okay, thank you.
They're gonna hit you with the questions after.
Come back up if there are any questions.
Yes,
Otherwise,
yes, I think we'll ask them at the end.
At the end.
Yes, we'll
Okay.
ask them. Thank you, Tom. Very.
All right, we have the East Bridgewater Housing Authority, 5 years, Noreen Cahill. She's not here, okay.
And for Planning Board, we have, this is a 3-year position, and we'll be voting for 2. We have Robert Ken or Kevin Riley.
All right,
They're what?
They're at a meeting.
Oh, they are having their own meeting tonight.
Planning Board
too.
upstairs, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, and then we have constables, 3 years, there's 5 positions, we have 2 candidates, right?
Yes, but there is a, right here.
Okay, we have a statement from Bob Van Duzen, candidate for constable. Okay, Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I could not make it to this important night, but I have some important family business to tend to. I am running for constable again and want to thank everyone that had anything to do with my winning the current seat, and hope that you and all townspeople will see this way again. I have served the town proudly and reflected well the demeanor and services that I should have to maintain the professionalism this position requires. I have effected service on many many summonses and complaints on behalf of the Commonwealth's Child Enforcement Agency. I have also provided service for lawyers, legal agencies, and private parties, the earnings of which I have filed with the town treasurer's office as prescribed by law. If any one of you have any questions or need for service, please see the town clerk, and they will provide my contact information. I look forward to serving the town again in this capacity, and wish that you all look well to your ballot. Look well to your ballot. Thank you, and have a good night. Stay safe. And I did that without my glasses.
Wow. And
Okay.
I think Mike Travis?
Nope.
Michael, no. Okay. So we're on to the school committee, which is a contested race. It's a 3-year position, and we will be able to vote for 2 of these contestants. So the first speaker is Gizella Morton. And welcome.
Yep, we have a question?
I have a comment. Can people speak up? Because I'm having a very difficult time hearing what anyone is saying, and maybe you're not using microphones.
No, the microphone's not for you.
Excuse me?
The microphones are for the town, not the room.
Oh,
They're for
okay.
the recording.
Well, then,
Still, we have to
Project.
speak up when we talk,
I
okay?
understand.
I have a loud voice, and that probably is the problem.
There's a problem with that.
We're in the loud voice.
We're the loud
Yeah,
voice
right
quarter
here.
right here.
So I'd appreciate it because every word you have to say is important.
I understand, thank you. My name is Gizella Morton. I want to thank everybody who are here today, especially my fellow candidates, Rebecca Fidler and Gordon Mckinnon. I come from west coast of Africa, very small little town, third world country. I've been in America since I was 17 years old as an immigrant. Went to high school in Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island, Hope High School, and dedicated my life as an immigrant that education was very important to me. So living on my own since that age, I have put myself through college, got a bachelor's degree in arts of psychology, and I concentrated in juvenile justice. From there, obtained my master's degree in human services, and I concentrated in organizational management and leadership. I have been in public services for about 20 years. I worked at different state agencies such as DYS and DCF for many years. I moved here to East Bridgewater in 2019 with my family, my husband Carl Morton, who's here today, and my 3 children. 2 of them pretty much grew up here because they were very young when we moved, but we moved a teenager here from Cambridge schools. And I started to get involved in the school system about, I would say, 4 years ago, when my then 11-year-old daughter expressed concerns that there was such a lack of diversity for people and students that looked like her. And she had made a request that by the time she would enter 9th grade, high school years, she would want to leave the school system to a place where she would feel, she belonged better than she felt like she belonged here. And when this happened, some of her friends had left East Bridgewater as well. So I began the conversation with the school, with the superintendent about my daughter's conversation. From that conversation, I was invited to a school committee meeting where I spoke about some of the issues that we had observed, which had a lot to do with diversity in the town and in the school system. So from there, I decided that I was going to invite some of the people in the town, the mothers, the fathers, to my home to start this conversation. And I made an invitation to 20 people that I knew in the town, from the soccer, from the basketball teams, invited them to brunch to my house. So from there, we began this conversation that now we have Community Coalition for Change, CCC, in East Bridgewater. My friend Nadia had turned it into a nonprofit, which we're very pleased in the town, where we continue to do the work and do all the things that we have to do. I'm involved in the school council meetings. I'm involved in book club meetings monthly, and also I'm involved in meetings with the school monthly with the superintendent and assistant superintendent. And that's how I began the idea about I wanted to do more. I think I'm doing a lot, but I wanted to do a little more, and decided that I would run for school committee to continue to do the work in the town that I become to love very much with my family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rebecca Fidler? I didn't say that right?
You did, Fidler.
Okay.
1D.
Throws everybody off. My glasses now.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Republican and the Democrat committees for hosting this event, to Dave and Diane, to the fellow candidates. Thank you for everyone who's watching at home. My name is Rebecca Fidler, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight to share why I'm seeking to be your town school committee. I graduated from East Bridgewater High School in 1998 and then went on to obtain my bachelor's and master's degrees in the field of clinical psychology. In 2014, I returned to the halls of the schools when I began providing outpatient mental health services to students during the school day. Since 2017, I've collaborated with the schools on several occasions, providing support to staff through professional development trainings. Prior to COVID, I had brought together the YMCA, police department, and school administration for a meeting to identify ways that we can utilize resources within our community to address substance misuse issues occurring with the students. When the high school had a shelter in place a few years ago, I sat down with the superintendent and assistant superintendent to collaborate on how I could help support the staff and the students in the event that they should ever face that fear again. I'm open and ready to be part of a solution and help advocate for all the humans inside those walls, along with help our district to remain fiscally focused, academically challenging, and have a clinical lens on the social and emotional health of our students and staff. As our community grows in size and diversity, I'm focused on helping the schools to be vigilant about inclusive practices, trauma-informed care, and focus on professional development training for educators to address pandemic and compassion fatigue, as well as to identify and improve cultural competency. During my 20 years in the field, I've been a director for many programs in a community mental health center. These experiences have provided me with the skills to manage million-dollar budgets, manage hundreds of staff, and develop and create policies and procedures. I've managed grants awarded by the state and worked with school districts all over the South Shore. I facilitate trainings and participated in speaking engagements in several other states, as well have been asked to speak at one worldwide event regarding mental health in schools. These experiences do not just land in my lap. I'm a hard worker who believes that in the power of service, and when I commit to provide a service, I do that with 100%. I'm hopeful that you will see all these same qualities in me and that I will earn your vote. In addition to my work, I'm a wife and a mother of 2 boys at the central and middle schools. My parents live in the town, my sister lives in this town, my brother has been serving in our U.S. Army since 2013. Beyond my family, this community is filled with my friends, many of them who are now family. They're filled with my children's friends, little kids on my soccer teams, and all of them I care about deeply. This community has always been my community, and I want to serve it the best that I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Gordon, please. Gordon Mckinnon.
Well, good evening, everyone, here and at home. My name's Gordon Mckinnon. I'm a candidate for the school committee. I've enjoyed living in East Bridgewater for the past 25 years. My wife and I have raised our 2 sons, and they both went through the East Bridgewater school system. It's always been important to me to contribute to the community I live in. Our town has benefited over the years from many residents volunteering their time and efforts and energy to hold various roles in the town, all focused on running and improving our town. And I've appreciated that, and I'm simply looking to contribute in the same manner. I appreciate the vital role our schools play in our town, in the lives of our children, and I'd consider it an honor to help in those efforts. I'm proud to say that I served on the committee for over 6 years in the past. And I'm sure that experience will help me be an effective member of the committee, but I know there's much more to learn and to contribute. I take the role seriously and will put in the time and effort necessary to effectively live up to the responsibilities associated with the position. I know there is much more to serving than simply attending these regularly scheduled meetings. There's subcommittee meetings, there's many things to learn and read, and I'm happy to apply the time to do that. Now that I'm been retired, I have plenty of time to do just that, and I would look forward to it, and again, consider it an honor to be elected again. So my past experience in the town, I've been well, not in this town, I've been a business owner for 30 years, and I've been a member of a school council. I've served on the finance committee. I've served, as I said, on the school committee for over 6 years, and I've served as a school committee representative to the capital needs committee. So in closing, I appreciate your vote on May 14th, and after that, I thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Now would be the opportunity for questions, if folks have questions of any of the candidates.
I'm going to start with the uncontested race.
Yep.
We have one candidate here for the uncontested. Anybody have any questions for our Board of Health candidate?
Yeah, got one.
So,
That's a surprise, Kathy.
do you want to come? Oh, do you,
No, I don't need her.
oh, okay.
I'm loud.
Okay.
I will try to speak up.
Oh, there we go. Good. Okay, Tom, what do you think you will contribute to the Board of Health? Please be specific.
Sure. Well, I think I'm a good member of the team, coming from a legal background. It's a point of view that's not currently represented on the board. And I think it's an important time from a public health perspective. I mean, knock on wood, even Dr. Fauci says we're entering the endemic stage of the virus, but who knows where that's going to go. And also a lot of developments in town with infrastructure and things like that. So I think that's something that I could contribute that's not currently represented on the current members.
Hi, Nadia Clancy. I have a question for you, Tom. Besides the pandemic that's currently happening globally, everywhere, what do you think this town needs in terms of other issues that we're dealing with in town for the Board of Health to deal with? And how would you be able to deal with that?
Well, I'm excited to find out more about the project that's being discussed tomorrow. I think sewerage is an item that the town has sort of let slip. I don't know if this North Bedford district is exactly what the town needs to move forward, but it does feel to me like it's moving, into the future and looking forward.
Any other questions for Tom? Oh.
All right, so, one of the questions I have is, what do you see the Board of Health's role in? We have heard a lot about mental health issues, et cetera, in town, and their involvement in helping the town kind of, pull out of this pandemic and kind of move forward.
That's a great question. I know, it's been sort of a balancing act between, the actual health of constituents and workers and people in town and across the globe, and also having to balance that with the public mental health effects of quarantines and things like that. I'm hoping going forward we don't see those sort of draconian measures that have sort of ratcheted up, I think, the crisis for a lot of people, but how we can sort of move back into normality is really a difficult question. So I'm not sure what the role of local health officials will be going forward, if any, but I'm welcome to suggestions, and I'm always trying to look forward to see what is the next thing we can do to try to move back towards the way we should be in terms of mental health and physical health.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I would excuse you.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. So Now go to the school committee.
Let's go to this. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Any questions for the candidates for school committee?
I'd like to ask a question of all three of the
Yep,
candidates.
we all three, yep.
Yeah.
Trista Higgins, Elia Latham Way. So I've heard everything that you've all shared, and you've all touched on strengths that you have, but understanding that as a school committee member, your truest impact governs or purview of policy, school policy, as well as overseeing and evaluating the superintendent. So for each of you, what do you feel your single biggest strength will be giving to the school committee in those defined roles? I think a lot of times there's not a true understanding of the role of a school committee member in general amongst, people who haven't been involved or don't know what the role involves. So for each of the candidates, I'd like to know what you feel is your single most strength that will lend itself to your position as a school committee member.
Could we have one at a time come up here to answer that? Gizella, you're up.
Before Gizella begins, can I just clarify 1 minute for a response, or we just to try and keep it equitable? Okay, sure.
Thank you for the question. One of my biggest strengths is collaboration. And, with the team that I'm working with, understanding what the issue is, and listening to every candidate, every member of the school committee, what they're saying in regards to the issue, and collaborating with them in a more, communicative way. And each of us bring different ideas, each of us bring different background to the table, each of us bring our different strengths that we have. I am in a public service. I am I'm also into policies, so I'm constantly working as a team. So I understand what that brings in, as communicators, when you're working with a team that are gonna make a decision together as one. So communication and listening is one of my biggest strengths, and understanding what we're talking about.
Okay. Rebecca?
Thank you for the question, Trista. I think that one of the strengths, much like Gizella, I don't think you can be in the field of psychology and not have mastered the art of communication, hopefully, in speaking and listening, and then being able to be collaborative and taking in the views and thoughts from all people. I certainly am qualified and capable of formulating my own opinion, but what others think on a matter is important to me. I'm not so convicted in my opinions that I cannot be swayed or have a dialogue, an open dialogue about that. In regards to the policies and procedures piece that you mentioned, I think that anytime there's policies and procedures that is something that we're discussing, it's things being clearly defined and understood by all so that we can have a productive conversation moving forward. So making sure that we all are actually communicating about the same topic and leaving with an understanding in the same way. In regards to the superintendent and the evaluation should be quite clear, right? We're following and we're looking at things, and I think that we need to make sure that we're honoring that system and not bringing in too much personal opinion. Thank you.
Okay, good.
How many minutes do I have?
I'm sure it'll be okay.
That's okay. I think if I remember the question, Trissa, you said one quality? So if I would say, I just wanted to be specific that I think the biggest quality or the most important quality I would bring is a positive attitude. No matter what I'm faced with, I don't look for blame or criticism. I look to identify a problem, if there is one, or an opportunity for improvement. And that's really what I focus on. And I also realize in this kind of scenario, I'm one member of a committee. And I have my thoughts and opinions that I share, but I also serve as a part of the committee as a whole, and I respect the decisions of the committee to move us in a good and positive direction. So I would say positive, and luckily I only have a minute because that's all I had for positive attributes anyway, so I'm all done. Thank you.
Okay. Now, if there's another question, we're going to mix it up here. We're going to have Rebecca go first, so.
Oh, that's a good idea, very good idea.
All right, my question is, what do you perceive as the school committee's greatest challenge, and how would you address this?
Rebecca?
I think that's a great question. You got me thinking here. I think the greatest challenge would be bringing together personalities from hopefully diverse backgrounds and being able to come up with common goals and honoring the role of the school committee, making sure that we are all showing up with our strengths, being respectful of each other. So I think the challenge comes into how do you take a newly formed team of people with 2 new members and find your vibe and your mesh of that and make sure that you're going to be collaborative.
Good.
I'd say the single biggest challenge the schools have is building in a forward direction, always. We've got to this point in time. I'm sure there's things that could be improved. I'm sure there are a lot of things that are working really well, but I think for any organization to build in a positive direction on the past and where they are currently, that's always the biggest challenge, whether it's diversity, whether it's inclusion, whether it's the technology that's streaming at us all the time, all kinds of different challenges that we want to prepare our kids for. Is what was in the past was good, but we need to be ready for the future. And so I would say the future focus and building on a positive direction.
Gizella?
I think the biggest challenge in a lot of ways when you have to look into policies that have been into place and, in the conversations in regards to policy change and system change in anywhere, and then you bring the challenge of, presenting these issues and how collaboratively as a committee that we come to an understanding of what is best for our public school, and I'm talking every school in town. How are we addressing issues, and how this policy playing into it, and how can we change things to better our system?
Any other questions?
Christine Resendez, 339 Central Street, for Mr. Mckinnon.
All 3 get an opportunity.
Well, it's a question for someone that's served on school committee, and the other 2 have not, to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
I just would like to ask, what do you think your greatest achievement was when you served on school committee? What did you bring that made the schools better, or whatever?
Great question.
The single thing, again, getting down to one, I'm very happy and proud of the fact that I was on the committee at the time when we hired Superintendent Legault. I think she's helped us fiscally in a lot of good areas. I think she's open-minded to getting better and change. So I was probably most proud of that, and I'd say secondarily is the effort I put in. I went to every conference. I actually took the training more than once, just because I thought after a couple of years, I think going back to the training was good for me, that once you build a background and understand better. So I would say, in general, that was it. And I'm very happy with our efforts to hire Superintendent Legault. Thank you.
Okay, so in all fairness to that, since everybody's supposed to have a chance to respond, I'm going to tag on to that question. This was about what he was happy about with his best accomplishment. What is it that you two would like to accomplish in your first term? So with that, well, Gizella, you're up, because Gordon just...
Couple things that are, first, getting to know all the members and become part of your family. Every month you're meeting with them and you're having all these nice discussions about changes in the town and in the school system. I understand that very soon we will be having another election. So that's something that, it's on my mind as well for new accomplishment as a part of the member of the committee.
Okay.
For new superintendent.
Becca?
Can you repeat the question as I'm walking?
Okay. Oh, yeah, so you had time to think about it already. No, Gordon had an opportunity to talk about what one of his favorite or best accomplishment is his time on the board. What would be your goal or the most desired what would you like to accomplish in your first term?
In my first term, my single most important thing on my mind is recovery from the pandemic. Clearly, with the lens of mental health, I am a strong advocate for the teachers, for what they have endured, what they have gone through, how they have supported our little ones, and how their burnout is present. But then also for the kids, for the mental health of the students, for the social and emotional learning. I think that as a culture in the school district, what I hope to be most proud of is the opportunity to be part of repair and healing. And I think that's one of the strengths I bring in, but I think repairing a community at the level of the children, which is what my biggest investment is in this community, is investing in that and helping them be healthy and helping our teachers be healthy.
All right, thank you.
Are there any more questions? Awesome. Deborah.
Hi, Deborah Chassie, Chestnut Street. This is for the school committee. I don't have the exact number, but East Bridgewater in our district is in the lower 50 percentile within the state of 400 and something district schools. Can you, just off the cuff, anything's gone through your mind as far as like what can we do to really get us in a higher ranking within the state? Which means how do we pull everybody up so that we're really improving our community?
Okay. Well, I guess this time we'll start with Gizella. Gordon got to go first last time.
Can you ask the question again?
Yes. We are currently in the lower 50 percentile within the state of Massachusetts, and I think that's looking at 401 school districts. I don't think being in the lower 50 percentile is a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's always room for improvement and opportunities. And I was just curious, any thoughts or ideas you guys might have? They might not be proven.
Mm-hmm.
Policies, procedures, methods, ideas, but something that you think that maybe we should be looking at in our town, and that specifically the school board could maybe explore that might be able to help raise us within the state. Academically, that is. I'm not talking about athletics.
Oh.
Okay?
You know, diversity in the school is one of the issues that I have. We need to, you know, really look at our curriculum and what we are bringing to the table to our students, how we are addressing issues in the schools that are uplifting students and uplifting the teachers, and how we are representing our town. So looking at the curriculum and bringing more inclusivity to the school. More, you know, I feel like sometimes that we feel down almost in East Bridgewater. And it's affecting our kids in our community really bad. And I think more programs in the school as well. More support groups, more things that the kids can get involved after school is one of the things that, you know, I really think we need to bring up in East Bridgewater more. And, you know, just making sure that our children, it's not just about going to class, but there's a lot more to it, including any activities that are after school that are not just sports that I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Rebecca?
I was at the soccer field before this, I should have kept it fun. May I ask a clarifying question? Are you referring to like the budget with how much spent per student, or are you referring to academics?
Academic performance.
Based on the measures for academic performance?
Correct.
Okay. I think when it comes to looking at academic performance, we would be looking at curriculum. Obviously, that's presented to us from the superintendent's office to then review and be part of. So I think looking at what those are and trying to identify ways that we can, like they're doing now, with looking at dual enrollments for classes at the college level while also being at the high school level. I think that is important to challenge people academically, but I also think it would be nice to explore opportunities for people that are trade focused to be able to see how we can grow those opportunities, that not everybody's college track. And I think my experience in the school is that when we are there, it's really about the next step. I clearly benefited from that with bachelor's and master's. However, that's not everybody's path, and I think it would be nice to explore some trade opportunities.
Thank you.
Gordon?
I'm glad we had the clarifying about academics versus budget. Although I
And
do,
athletics.
although I do think it'd be a little bit unfair not to footnote the fact that we are 10th from the bottom in fiscal spending per student, which is reality. That's where we are. So not that money drives everything or drives academic performance, but it's certainly an element in the equation. So that's part of it. So the higher we can raise the town revenues, great. There's more money to be had there, but I think in the short term, we have to make do with what we have. And so one of the things that always occurred to me is that I love that we have sports programs and whatever, and how people are so involved in it. I just think it would be absolutely wonderful if we had the same kind of focus and enthusiasm on education and schoolwork and skill development and all, and celebrate that. I just think it gets, to my mind, it gets kind of pushed to the side. We celebrate a victory in basketball or soccer, which is great, and that's great for the kids to teamwork like that. But I think maybe more of a focus on, hey, this is great. Let's see how we can help you get better and be prepared, which is what it's all about, preparing the students to take the next step once they get beyond high school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for our school committee? Okay, yeah.
Wait until he sat down.
So, you know, having run for office in the past and being in office and serving on boards, et cetera, I'd be interested in understanding, what was your trigger that made you determine, now's the time for me to run, and this is why I want to get involved? So, or to continue what you're doing. What was it inside of you? I'd be interested in knowing. So, Gordon, you're welcome.
I knew I should have stayed up.
He was gonna wait for you to sit down anyway.
You got it.
My trigger was, I certainly enjoyed my time on the committee when I was on it before a few years ago. And I retired at the end of 2020. And much of the thought process I had preparing for my retirement and going into my retirement was really evaluating my life and my life purpose. And that life purpose for me is to make a positive difference in the world around me, not only my company, my family, my community. And when somebody brought the idea up to me, like, oh, you should run for a school committee again, I thought, no, I'm retired now. And then I thought more in depth about it and thought, well, hey, if I really am focused on my life purpose of making a positive difference, then I shouldn't step away from that challenge. And so that was my motivation. Thank you.
Great. Gizella?
My children are my motivation. I see them in this town and understanding some of the issues that they're faced due to how they look like. And they've inspired me to do more, you know, in order to make it better, not just for them, but for the other kids that looks like them as they come into this town of East Bridgewater. You know, through CCC, Community Coalition for Change, you know, I meet with the superintendent, we discuss issues of budget, we discuss other issues in the school system. I meet with the school council now, with the teachers involved, the principal involved, and understanding some of the issues that they are facing and some of the work that changes they are trying to make as well, you know, in the community. And I decided that, you know, running for school committee, you know, puts me in a place where I'm understanding better what the system is, what the policies are, and how can we, because changes comes from those things, from the system, from the policies, because we may want something, but we need to have it in writing, we need to have a policy in place that works for every and each student in East Bridgewater, no matter who you are, where you come from, what class you are. I think every child deserves the same treatment in any school, especially the town where I live. So that's what inspired me and gave me that idea that I needed to run to make sure that these changes are made.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
See, again, used to the rotation, you don't have to call it names.
I'll call myself. This year, I was on the school council for the central school, which kind of got my feet wet. And then that lended the opportunity for me and a colleague of mine to start the Acts of Kindness in East Bridgewater, where we got together with the central school and then reached out to businesses in the community to try to model and return a sense of kindness and belonging with each other. And after that, and through several conversations, thought, okay, I'll give this a go. That my dad had said to me after the Acts of Kindness East Bridgewater, he said, you know, I didn't know if I was going to say anything, but clearly you keep being meant for more. And I've been saying for years, I have something to say, and I don't always know exactly what it is, but that something to say it feels important, and advocating for our kids. And now just feels like the time for me to be able to do that. I'm a business owner in town. My kids are young. My roots are here. It feels like this is the best place for me to start to do that.
Thank you. You got a question?
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
not,
right ahead.
I hate to bombard the school committee members.
Well, the other contestant race, so.
That's all we got. Oh, really? Nadia Clancy again. Just wanted to say, again, just want to thank you guys for running, because I think it's an important role. It's a great role to have in the district. But most importantly, being a school committee representative for the district, how do you feel about DEI entering the school? Because I've been in this town since 2007, and you can look at the census, and we are becoming really more diverse in our communities. And as a resident, and also as a mother, and as a parent in the district, I wanted to ask you, how would you handle some of the outside noises that doesn't, interfere with your work that you try to do for the students and the schools? So I want to know how you guys would address DEI issues within the school system.
All right, can I just, I'm a little confused.
DE&I.
By the question. So-
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay.
How do we address DEI issues within our school district?
Okay, so that's the outside noises. Okay, all right, gotcha. I lost track.
I couldn't
Gordon, I think you're first, right?
Oh, there you
Yeah?
go.
And if not, you are now.
I think the first step in solving any problem is recognizing that there is a problem. And from the conversations I've had with different people in administration and school, not only at the state level, but certainly at our local level, they recognize that this is a challenge and will continue and will grow. Again, I'm just a firm believer. I like the concept of all. So to me, there's no distinguishing between somebody's background. We should treat everybody the same. I understand that's a bit naive in today's day and age. And I'm all for whatever it takes for a focus to address these latest developments and latest problems. So I think I'm at least confident from the few conversations I've had, the school recognizes it, the state recognizes it, and that it's not going to get ignored and it's not going to get swept away, and it'll be dealt with. I don't have a quick answer as to how we do that. Thank God I'm not the superintendent, because I just say, hey, we're here for everybody. I don't care where you're from, what you look like, what you sound like, we're here for everybody. Oversimplification, but I know it takes effort and change to make sure you address all the different developments in our community. So, thank you.
thank you.
Going with that, we'll go with Gizella.
Well, I'm part of that change. You look at me, you know that diversity is an issue in this town. We would like everybody to be equal. We would like everybody to be treated equal, but that's not how it happens. So bring a DI to the town. It will help us address some of the issues that are not particular in the community, but in the school system that has to do with diversity and inclusion. We need to look at, for example, one of the things that we talked about is the guide for consequences about students in the town, that it plays into every child, and every policy works for everybody. I feel like sometimes that doesn't fall into the kids that are from diverse world, that are minority in the town. So for me, bringing someone to address those issues, that every child can feel inclusive, which that is one of the issues that the children that are the minorities face in East Bridgewater. So bringing someone to address that, so make sure that every child feels safe and welcoming and inclusive in any school system in East Bridgewater. That's why I won one.
Okay, Rebecca?
I think when discussing anything with DEI, I believe that we need to be looking at first the training of the educators and making sure that they feel competent, but also that my clinical lens comes in here, that if we're asking them to be mindful with DEI, and I think that they need to have their own understanding of their cultural biases, and I think that they need to understand themselves if we're asking them to stand in front of our children and articulate that. So I would want to know that my children are in a classroom with somebody who has done that work on themselves, so that they are leading and not mentoring in a way that channels to their own ideas. I think that that gets looked at as well with diversity of educators. We clearly are not a very diverse community, and I think that if we want to welcome in more diverse educators, we need to look at how we're doing that and the culture in the school district. Are we welcoming at the district educator level of that so that our students can see people that look like them?
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm wondering if there's another question out there that, before we wrap up, maybe?
I don't have another one.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I can't, I know I had you first. Do you have something that you wanted to read from Miles?
I kind of read it in the beginning.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. All right. So thank you, everyone, for coming tonight, for the candidates putting themselves in front of us all and sharing your thoughts on why you're running. We're very, very lucky to have all of these candidates running for school committee as well as Board of Health and those that were not able to attend. The town election is on May 14th. We're out, we want to come out, we want to make sure we get out and support the candidates and come out and vote. And at what time do the doors open?
11 to 7, I believe.
11 to 7, so it's kind of a shorter window than the regular elections, but promise to come out and support you, and thank you really for all the time and effort you're going to be putting into these positions. It's just, I know how much work it is, and it's a public servant comes to mind is what, you know, we really, our town cannot run without your support. Did you have anything?
And part of this too is you getting involved, influencing others. I'd love to see more people involved. I remember there used to be contested. When I ran for selectman the first time, there were 11 people running for selectman. Okay, 11 people. And every race was contested with at least 1 or 2 candidates. So to get more involved, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. You learn things that you don't necessarily know from being on the outside. So I would encourage anybody to run. And I would thank everybody who's put their hat in the ring at this point in time. It's great. And thank you very, very much. I would always like to hope to solicit more involvement. And somebody here said tonight about putting their foot in the water or something. You know, one way to do that is to join one of the town committees, like the Finance Committee, the Capital Committee, the Recreation Committee, some of those committees, and you start to get a little flavor for how the town runs, how the inner workings are. Because what you think on the outside may not be a reality on the inside. So don't be afraid to get involved. One of those smaller committees, you get your feet wet. I mean, that's how I got involved with the Finance Committee, and I was like, oh my God. So I wanted to do more. But I learned a lot that I didn't learn, that I didn't know. I mean, I came from the city when I came to East Bridgewater, and I thought all elections were in the fall. I didn't even know what a town meeting was, you know. So get involved, especially for the new folks in town. Get involved. We can always use the help. The Recreation Committee, no matter what, the town website, I believe, has all the committees listed, and I think they even list what the vacancies are on there. So
We usually list them on our agendas too.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not bad to get involved. So first of all, thank you for getting involved and wanting to get involved, and we certainly appreciate it, so thank you very much.
Could I just put a little plug in? Also, I'm the chair of the Democratic Town Committee. We're always welcoming people to get involved. I know the Republican Town Committee, so that's another place that you can get involved. We'd love to welcome you.
Yeah, so as the Republican Town Committee, I'm gonna say it last.
Oh!
No, meets monthly on a Wednesday night, usually at Adria's down here in East Bridgewater. There's a Facebook page, and our next meeting is May 18th, so we're just as welcoming. It's a way to get involved, it's a way to get to meet people. I have been to both meetings. They're both very wonderful meetings. I mean, you learn a lot, you meet people, you get involved. And speaking about getting involved, I do want to throw in a punch for tomorrow night, that there's a meeting at the junior senior high school regarding the sewer district. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what this is. You need to come yourself. You want to ask questions. It's very important. It's a big step for this town. I would encourage you at least to watch it if you can't be there. And then even after you watch it, if you have questions, you can call the Board of Selectmen, right? Or call myself. Or the town administrator. Or come if you have some specific questions. It's a big step for the town, and you can learn a lot and meet a lot of people also. So I just want to remind you that that's happening tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock in the high school auditorium.
In the high school auditorium. So thank you all.
Can I say something?
Yep.
Yeah, Kathy Wolf, Laurel Street. The following week is the annual town meeting, which
Yep.
is very important. That's the 9th, May 9th, and we will be actually voting on some of the things that I believe will be discussed tomorrow night at the forum. So your presence at town meeting is critical. Unfortunately, I keep seeing less and less and less participation at town meeting, and the more people, it's supposed to be a democracy. If you're not voting, you're not participating. So please come and join our meetings. Special town meeting at 7, and the 7:30 is the annual town meeting, again at the junior senior high school. Very important things go on at these meetings. Thank you.
You don't want to have 50 people make a decision for 14,000 people. So it's important to come. And I'll probably get hit for this, but if you don't go and you don't vote, don't complain. You know? It's just be part of the solution, not the problem. So, get that out. All right. Well, thank you.
All right, pleasure. Thank you all.